All right, tonight, more bad news from Biden's border crisis. An unvetted Biden illegal immigrant from Venezuela shot two New York City police officers in Queens, New York. The suspect crossed the border in July of 2023. Who should we blame the most? I would say Joe Biden, the same guy that lied to you for 3 years, saying over and over, as the border is closed, the border is secure. Here's a simple fact that Biden would probably like you to ignore. In his first 100 days in office, Joe Biden reversed nearly every single one of Donald Trump's safety measures with the stroke of a pen. As a result of that stupidity, well, the predictable chaos ensued, and more than 10 million unvetted Biden illegal immigrants and counting have now poured into our country, many from, let's see, places like China, tens of thousands of them, and Russia, and Egypt, and Afghanistan, and Iran, and Syria, and Yemen, and Kazakhstan, and I can go on. And by the way, for a while, Biden just kept lying to you, the American people, telling you that only Congress could reverse this terrible border policy that he himself reversed with the stroke of a pen. But with the election right nearby, 154 days away, it's time for an election year conversion. And now Joe is planning later this week a new executive order to finally address the crisis that he himself created. By the way, spoiler alert, it's little more than an absolute failure and a political ploy on his part. In the meantime, Biden granted a kind of makeshift mass amnesty without us watching to 350,000 illegal immigrants, according to data gathered by the New York Post. Oh, amnesty, something of great value. Hope you'll vote for us. Anyway, here now with reaction. Texas Senator Ted Cruz is with us. So it's even worse than we thought. Now we're basically allowing the people to stay in the country. And on top of it, we're not even paying attention where it's coming from. But here's the sinister part of this. He was trying to blame Republicans after telling the country a lie for 3 years the border's secure. Then he said, well, Republicans won't sign the bill that would have allowed at least 5,000 unvetted illegals a day under his plan. And then when they wouldn't go along with it, now he's saying, you know what, I'm going to go back to what Trump did, and I'll use the stroke of a pen, and I'll fix it, although I said I wasn't allowed to do that. Can you explain that?
Well, I can. This is the latest incarnation of what I call election year camouflage, which is the Democrats, especially Joe Biden, but all the Democrats, they think the voters are stupid. And so they do. You remember before the 2022 election, right before the election, Joe Biden released a bunch of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and it ended up causing gasoline prices to drop a little bit. And they think the voters are stupid. They don't notice that gas prices have skyrocketed. And if they get a little bit of a drop, they say, look, aren't things great? Or the student loan forgiveness, where he gives away, or he says he's giving away $1 trillion right before the election, trying to convince a bunch of young people, hey, look at all this free stuff I'm giving, just vote for the Democrats. Now, of course, he knew it would be struck down by the courts, and it was. In this instance, on immigration, tomorrow Joe Biden's going to... It didn't stop him, but it's all about fake messaging for the election. This immigration order that's coming tomorrow, Joe Biden's going to stand up and say, we're securing the border. And you know what? I'm going to predict in the next 5 months, we're actually going to see the border numbers go down a little bit. Now, don't be deceived by that. It's just like the gasoline prices going down a little bit. They're doing this right before the election. They're doing it so the useful idiots in the corporate media will say, gosh, Biden solved the problem. Nothing else to worry about here. It is entirely fake. And we have had 11 million people invade this country because Joe Biden and the Democrats want 11 million people to invade this country. You mentioned the two new NYPD police officers that were shot. They were shot by a Venezuelan, a 19-year-old named Bernardo Raul Castro Mata. I mean, this is a name out of Charles Dickens. Mata is Spanish for he kills. The guy's middle name is Raul Castro. He's literally named after a communist murdering dictator. He came from Venezuela, and what did Joe Biden do? Let him go. Let him go. Said, you know what? New York City is a great place for you to go. He did. He shot 2 police officers. This is what Joe Biden is doing every day. And this executive order, he admits he had the power to do this 3.5 years ago, but he didn't do it 3.5 years ago. He wants 11 million, and he wants 20 million, and he wants 40 million because he views every one of these as future Democrat voters.
Okay, that's the point. You know, they would say, well, Republicans don't want people of color. It's the great replacement theory. I don't care where anybody comes from. If you come into the country legally, we have a chance to vet you. A couple of things. We need to have a security background on you, a health check in light of what happened with COVID, and beyond that, a means test to make sure you won't be a financial burden on the American people. Then, Senator, I don't care where you come from.
Yes.
Welcome to the country.
There's a right way to come.
But the lie is, but now they're giving amnesty on top of it. Oh, something of great value, a path to citizenship, which will lead to what? I hope you'll vote for us. We're the ones that gave that to you. Meanwhile, you know, you'd pay $10 million to get into Australia.
Yeah, look, that's exactly right. Listen, there is a right way to come. You come legally. As you know, I am the son of a Cuban immigrant. Sean, you know my dad. My father came in 1957 from Cuba. He had nothing. He had been in prison. He'd been tortured as a teenager in Cuba. When he came to America, he came to Texas. He was 18. He couldn't speak English. He was a teenage immigrant. He had $100 in his underwear. His first job was washing dishes, 50 cents an hour. But you know what? He came legally. He got a student visa. He came to go to the University of Texas. He came to work. He ended up getting a job. He started a business. Today he's a pastor. That's the right way to come. We're a nation of immigrants. We welcome people who come legally. But Joe Biden and the Democrats, they don't want legal immigrants where you know their backgrounds. They open it up. They invite every murderer, every rapist, every gangbanger, every terrorist to flood across the border. And what happened in New York this week, the 2 police officers shot. That is happening, Senator, every single week. People being shot and killed by illegal immigrants Joe Biden and the Democrats have released.
He has blood on his hands. And
yes,
when some of these people from either China or Russia or Iran or Syria or Yemen or Egypt or Afghanistan or Kazakhstan, you know, one of those terrorist cells, which I'm pretty certain are here. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
They are.
When
They tragically are. And the FBI is telling us they're here.
So it's a matter of when, not if.
Yes.
And how sad is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there'll be a lot of dead Americans, and they'll have blood on their hands. And you know what? It's unforgivable. It's a clear and present danger, and it's unnecessary.
Amen.
Senator Cruz, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.